What's up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big Johnny G from Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming, and I am back. So I am back, all right, for another Midday Monologue Monday. And what I wanted to talk about today is something that has crossed my mind for a second time. Well, it's actually crossed my mind a lot, but it's just recently recrossed my mind. Something that I actually did a midday monologue on about a year ago. It was last summer, and it's been in my mind again. It's popped up a few times, but for very specific reasons just within the last couple of weeks. And that is what I am calling Movie, the Board Game, Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. Great 80s reference. Anyway, the 80s has something to do with what I'm talking about. So I went over 3 games the last time I did this specific midday monologue that I thought were really good movies that deserve some kick board games. And I have a few more. And the reason these are on my mind is because I've recently gotten some. Well, last October I got The Godfather. Was that by Cool Mini or Not? And I also have Infection at The Thing. Infection at Outpost, was it 39? Is that the number? Which is based on John Carpenter's classic sci-fi horror film, The Thing. And I am currently waiting to get my pre-order of another Kurt Russell movie turned game called Big Trouble in Little China. That game was already delayed from 4th quarter 2017 to 1st quarter 2018. This is March 2018. I'm hoping it doesn't get delayed again. I'm hoping they're going to be shipping those out soon. But I've also recently gotten Planet of the Apes by IDW Games, based on the original Charlton Heston, Rowdy McDowell, Kim Hunter movie. And, well, I just did a how-to play on that. Actually, I uploaded that this morning. So I've been thinking about other really great movies that could be good board games or even great board games. Okay, now hold on. I just got to say something right up front. It's very windy outside. My tripod is shaking a little bit. So you might see a woo, and I was like, I'm going to have to grab the camera before a camera quake. But if that happens, you know what? I'm letting it run right through the video. Why not? And make it interesting. I hope it doesn't happen. If it does happen, I hope I catch my phone. So anyway, I have 3 more movies that I have been thinking about that should make really good board games. I don't know why no one's thinking of these things. Someone's got to hire me to be their think man. Some gaming company really needs to hire me for their think tank. Anyway, so the 3 games that are now currently on my mind that would make great board games. I got little notes here. The first one is a little bit of a callback to something I mentioned in the last midday monologue movie, the board game, but it takes it in a little bit of a different road. It takes it down a different road a little bit. And the last time I had said, and I still think this would be a great game, was I said last time that I think that Captain America Civil War, the movie, would make an awesome board game. For the main reason that comic book fans, no matter who your favorite hero is, or your favorite company, we all have one thing in common. We love to watch our favorite superheroes fight each other. Ah, we love that. But that's interesting, and I still think that would make a good board game. But I have another thing. It hasn't even been out yet. Can we base a board game on a movie that hasn't been released? Sure, why not? Lego toys come out before the movie's released. Anyway, what I'm thinking about is the next step. In fact, if they did come out with a Captain America Civil War board game this would be the sequel, I think. And if they don't, then this deserves to be a game all on its own, and that is Avengers Infinity War. Now, this would make an awesome miniature game, miniature combat game. Think of all the great miniatures. Think of the expansions you're going to be able to come out with, adding more and more and more, and then going beyond the movie back into the comic books to bring out even more heroes than the MCU even has right now. I think that this would be really great as a cooperative game for like 5 players. But I think it should have, in an earlier Midday monologue, I did something called the 5th player shift. And I think this would be a 6th player shift. So you have a 5-player cooperative game in order to beat Thanos and his army and to save the entire multiverse, our reality and all realities. But I think that it could also be played as a 6-player game. And in that aspect, you would have a 1 versus all, where somebody's playing the forces of Thanos while the other players are playing the individual heroes. And I think that would really be great. Miniature fans would love it because it'd be awesome superhero miniatures for them to paint. I'm not a painter of miniatures. I suck at it, but it is really huge in the board gaming community, the painting of miniatures. So I think that would be really good. And another thing is, I think a game like this would work best with 2 boards, double-sided, so you can have all the different locations without worrying about tiles. I like tile laying games, but I don't like the way most of these tile laying games don't have connection points, you know, where they're just flat and you just kind of put them together and until somebody bumps the table and they all scatter around and you gotta put them all back together again. I really hate that. But if you make it fixed boards, make it 4 fixed boards on 2 boards that are double-sided, that would really ramp up the game's playing ability, I think, because you're going to have different arenas, so to speak, different environments that you're going to fight in. And taking a cue from Sentinels of the Multiverse, I think they should have some sort of environment cards or events or things like that. I think that would really ramp the game up, take it to the next notch. You know, so Avengers Infinity War. Why have I not heard that there is a game in development for this? Disney, you bought the Marvel company to get the age category that you were lacking at the time, and that was like the young boys, 8 to 13, 13 to 20, whatever the age category was, you weren't getting. You bought Marvel, you got that age category, you got it in spades now, my man. Come on, give us some better games than just Marvel Legendary and Dice Masters. Come on! Get on it. All right, now, the second game that I've been thinking of is, I'm actually surprised I didn't even think of it the last time I did this video, I'll tell you the truth. It's a classic movie from the 80s. Classic sci-fi movie. And it's already starring someone that has 2 board games already. Yes, another Kurt Russell board game. We can't have enough of them. And no, I'm not talking about Overboard, the board game. You know, that was a fun movie. What I'm talking about is New York City. What comes to mind? Kurt Russell in Escape from New York. I want a board game with Snake Plissken. But here's the thing. Now, in the movie, it's just Snake Plissken. He meets a few people in the movie, makes a couple of connections, a couple of them stab him in the back. Not everyone does. But it's still just a movie about one lone, tough guy. I would like to see an Escape from New York board game that utilizes the concept that I love in Conan, in the Conan board game. It was an Age of Adventure was it Fantasy Flight Games, but now Ares, I think, is in control of that. I think the Age of Conan game, with the fact that Conan is not a playable character, the fact that he's an NPC that's moving around the board with his own agenda cards, doing his own missions, you know, going for his own goals. while you and the other players are vying for control of the land. I think something like that would be really, really interesting to see in an Escape from New York board game, where Snake Plissken is exactly who he is in the movie, but he's an NPC. He's here, he's on a mission in New York City, in the jail of New York City, and he's doing his mission. Meanwhile, the players are other criminals, whether rightfully or wrongfully accused, that are trapped in New York, and they are trying to escape, while this guy Snake Plissken is running around causing all this trouble. I think that would be a great way to handle the game. It would be definitely an all-for-all game, but of course they could also do one versus all, where somebody is playing the prisoners, the prison guard side, trying to stop them. In that aspect, making it a little bit like Escape from Colditz, would be very good. But this would be really exciting. I could picture the encounter cards, dice rolls. This would be a mechanism including both dice and card use during gameplay to accomplish your missions. I think it would be really, really good. And it's worth it, because this movie is a cult classic still to this day. You can forget about Escape from LA. That never really happened. All right, so now my third pick for a movie that I think would make a great board game is going to take you by surprise. So I know when it popped up in my head, I was like, really? But I mulled it over for a minute, and I actually kind of thought it'd be pretty fun. I don't know of any modern board games based on Alfred Hitchcock movies. Oh, no, I'm not talking about Psycho, though that's a fantastic one. I'm not talking about North by Northeast. I think, for a board game, The Birds. Yeah, I think The Birds would make a great board game adaptation. I would definitely see this as an all versus all game. And I see everyone playing different flocks or flights, depending on if you're in the ground or in the air, different flocks or flights of birds. Some players will be crows, some players will be seagulls, some will be magpies, whatever. And your goal is a combination of gaining victory points by defeating humans, as well as gaining victory points through area control. Because you just have so many birds have attacked an area and have driven out the humans that they are now in control of the area. They're in control of the school. They're in control of the playground. They're in control of the house. Or maybe the board is the house. And so different areas of the house, like the attic, straight from the movie, they start taking over a little bit at a time. I think that that would be a really good game. I think that it would work best, as I said, with a sort of sandbox point system. I wouldn't call it a sandbox game. It's definitely not really an open world game I'm thinking of, but it would utilize that sandbox point system where you'd have, in this case, 2 or 3 different ways of accumulating points, instead of like a lot of these sandbox games, at least the really good ones, have multiple ways of gaining your victory points. So this one I see 2 or 3, but that would still make it sort of sandboxy VP sort of game system. But really, the birds. Can you picture the cool little bird miniatures? Like you'd all have your little flock of seagull birds and your little crow birds and some blue jays or whatever. I think in the movie it was really just crows and seagulls. The book that it was based, or the novella that it was based on, I never read. But I know Hitchcock really did follow some of the more basic aspects of it, like nobody knows why these birds were attacking. In the book, it just happened it was in England or Wales, Scotland, or something like that. The book takes place in right after World War II, and all they could talk about in the book was, it's the bad weather is causing these birds to act so weird. But nobody really knew why, and Hitchcock kept that. I think that would be really, really good game. Think about it for a moment. It would work. And why not? We have a Bob Ross board game. Why not an Alfred Hitchcock board game? So those are 3 movies that your buddy Big Johnny G thinks that if a little bit of effort was put in, not even much, just a little bit of effort, we could have 3 great board games. Not that we don't have enough anyway. But is there such a thing as enough board games? Especially good board games? Nah, there's never enough. All right, so real quick again, I think the upcoming movie Avengers Infinity War would be a fantastic board game. I think Escape from New York, the original, I think that would be great. Again, like I said, have Snake Plissken be like this NPC, kind of like Age of Conan game. Has Conan set up. Excellent. It would really, really work. And then what some people may think is the silliest of these three, but really I'm telling you, it's going to work. The Birds. Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds board game. Yeah. So that's it for movie, the board game, part 2, Electric Boogaloo. So I'm your buddy Big Johnny G with Two Gun Pixie Presents Legendary Gaming. We are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we are on Twitter, we have a Zazzle store, and of course, as you know, we are right here. All right, so before I cut out of here, let me just say that if you think that you know of a movie that can make a really good board game, and I don't mean just blurting out like, blah, 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 this would make a good board. Why would it make a good board game? What would you want to see in that board game? Put that down right there in the comments, right down there. We want to read it. We want to talk to you about this. I would love to know what kind of games that you think should be based on movies. And that's it. I don't know what else to say. So anyway, as I just said, I'm your buddy Big Johnny G from Two Gun Pixie Presents Legendary Gaming. And my friends, I think you know that I